Many animals use mimicry to look just like dangerous animals or more poisonous or toxic animals in order to keep predators away or survive dangerous situations. In the reptile world, we have a lot of examples of that. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite colubrid that uses a really cool form of mimicry and why they might be my very favorite colubrid. Okay, it's no secret that I used to work in zoos. I've worked with venomous. I'm a big fan of crotalus. I love rattlesnakes, and I've recently come into ownership of a Northern Pacific rattlesnake. Now, for the purposes of this video and safety, I'm not going to be taking the animal out, obviously. Safety first when working with venomous. But I will include some B-roll and some shots and things like that where I can to sort of exemplify what I'm talking about. But today I wanted to talk about Western Hognose snakes. Now, you probably are quite familiar with these. They're probably the most popular colubrid out there at the moment as far as pets. They take up the lion's share of colubrids available on Morph Market, and they are very, very widespread and popular because these cute little faces, that upturned snout, and they come in a variety of colors and patterns. They don't get much bigger than this, and they make wonderful pets. Now, all that said and done, that's fine, that's great. They are wonderful pets. They're cool, they're manageable, they're not hard to keep, but I like them for a different reason. These guys have keeled scales. So what that means is there is a ridge running through the middle of each scale, like that, on the keel of a boat. And basically, it acts like a little bit of extra armor and protection. They have very rough, coarse scales when you feel them running through your hands. And that's absolutely going to help keep them a little bit more safe, give them a little bit extra protection, maybe even help wedge them into some rocks and crevices a little bit better, add a little more grip so a predator might not be able to pull them out. The other side of that coin is look at this pattern. With the keeled scales and these blotches on a light background, at first glance, if you were coming by this, looks a lot like a rattlesnake. Now, where these guys are found throughout most of the United States and a lot of the plains and western areas, kind of in the middle of the country and further east than where I am, you actually do have a lot of overlapping populations of rattlesnakes in that area that would be found living in the same habitats as these guys almost. So there's a lot of benefit for the hognose to look like the more dangerous and lethal rattlesnakes in the area. In case something might be already wary of them, they might give this guy a wide berth just to stay safe. Now, rattlesnakes are famous for their little tail rattle that can grow quite large and then get very loud. These guys don't have a rattle per se, and their tail is rather short. But if you ever come across one and it's not already playing dead, sometimes they'll wiggle that tail, and these guys can be very vocal and they hiss and they can be very audible. So imagine coming across a curled up hognose that's acting like a rattlesnake, it's wiggling its tail, and it's hissing, and that's going. If you don't know any better, or maybe you're a coyote or something, your eyesight isn't great and your instincts are pretty much firing, you're going to think that that's pretty convincing display, and that's probably a rattlesnake, and it's probably best to not mess with it in order to stay safe. A bite from a rattlesnake is not good for survival for any animal, so instincts would probably tell them to avoid it just to stay safe. We all know these guys will play dead. If none of their bluffs and noises and strikes and everything keep them away, they'll play dead, emit a foul odor, open their mouths, roll around, and they'll just really make them seem like an unappetizing meal. This girl's never done that for me. She's a sweetheart. But what she will do is come ripping out of her enclosure trying to eat my fingers from time to time, which is pretty cool. I love a snake with a good appetite. So, oddly enough, I only have a couple of these snakes. I'm not going crazy into them, even though that's my MO. I get one and then I go downhill. I do have 4 of these animals, and I'm probably going to keep it as a small project like that and just let it grow on its own. I do have some condas and some morph things in there. In fact, this girl is het sable, but she's one of my favorites because she's just a sort of normal looking wild type animal, and I can't play with my rattlesnake. I'm not going to. That's dangerous. I don't want to spend $250,000 on anti-venom and risk my life and sleep in a hospital for a while. but I can get some of that same textural sensory satisfaction of the keeled scales, the writhing snaky feeling, and a little bit of attitude with these. They're a lot of fun, so it kind of checks a lot of those boxes for me, but I can stay safe. I have been bit by these. I will say, full disclaimer, these are rear fang venomous. That basically means in the back of their jaw, they do have very small fixed fangs. Their venom is not considered crazy potent for people, but there are plenty of instances where people have had very bad reactions to bites that look like full-blown venomous bites, swelling of the arm, whole nine. So if you are allergic to bees, if you carry an EpiPen, or you just have some anaphylaxis concerns and things like that, maybe stay away from these guys, because you get a hungry one and they'll chew. But yeah, otherwise they're cute, they're popular, they're adorable, and they're really easy to keep. I wanted to show off this little dude so you can see size difference between males and females. This is the male that's breeding that female, and he's not a morph either. He's just got some cool red to him, and from what I understand, a lot of the animals that stem from Montana tend to have a lot of reds to them. Just a stunning, beautiful snake, and it's like a little mini rattlesnake that isn't dangerous. They're pretty cool. I like them. I'm a fan. Wanted to show him off. He was very gracious to let me borrow his girlfriend in the previous clips. Now he's figuring out that she's not here. Where is she? Where's your girl? He wants to go back in. He's breeding. So just wanted to borrow him quickly to show you guys. He too has keeled scales, that cute rostral appendage, a little scoot up. They use that for digging. It's pretty cool to see. Awesome. I love Western Hognose snakes. They're really cool. So here's my Northern Pacific. He's just basking under his light in the morning, warming up. This is a native species, so I just give him a little bit of a hot spot and let him endure the ambient as he does. He's literally local. There you can see his beautiful rattle. He has 12 buttons, and the nub at the end is his neonatal button, so he has his entire rattle from the day he was born. And contrary to what people think, rattlesnakes don't get a rattle every year. You can't tell their age from how big the rattle is. They get one every time they shed. A new button grows in. So assuming these guys shed maybe 3-4 times a year in a good year, he's got about 12 buttons. When he was a slow starter, he was about 5 or 6. But here you can plainly see those keeled scales. He's got that tan pattern with the darker patches dorsally. Again, if you didn't know any better, the hognose and the rattlesnake, they almost look identical. Fantastic mimicry. Ironically enough, I am representing my good friend Glenn Reptiles wearing this shirt today. It was unplanned. He's a phenomenal colubrid breeder. He does a lot of different colubrids. And in terms of other colubrids that use mimicry, we're going to use some examples that you might already know. Milk snakes use that triad color, red, yellow, and black. If you don't know any better, that looks a lot like a coral snake. And the old adage goes, red touches black, friend of Jack. Red touches yellow, can kill a fellow. Something like that. Everybody's got their own version of it. But it only applies to the coral snakes in the Southeast United States. So you still just got to know your species. But that's a very commonly well-known use of mimicry to look like a venomous snake for a non-venomous snake. Another great example of that would be Madagascar giant hognose. I've worked with those, and they love to flatten, hood up, act like cobras. In fact, I'll dig up some old footage and overlay a shot here of that. It's pretty cool. So I'm not going to get into all sorts of different kinds of mimicry used out in the animal kingdom in the reptile world, but I just wanted to list a few other ones. We've already got milk snakes and hognose, hooding, a lot of bluff striking, imitating those venomous snakes that we know. So it's pretty cool to see, and it's nice to see it literally in my snake room. Not everybody is going to go through the ringer of getting a rattlesnake to compare. I just happen to have one, and I've been thinking about making this video for a while. I love rattlesnakes. I love my hognose. They both have a lot of similar features, like physically and behaviorally. Fascinating. Absolutely love what nature does. So with that, I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to close up, let you guys get on with your day, stop yakking, all that good stuff. Make sure you go show some love to my sponsors, Reptile Husbandry Designs. Use code RR10 to get you 10% off at checkout. Get you some awesome 3D printed enrichment for your animals. Also, go check out my sponsor, Reptiles Express. If you're doing any shipping this year, ship with the best. Get your shipping supplies, everything you need, labels, all that good stuff, and then use code Riley50 to save you 50% off the standard FedEx shipping rates for up to 10 labels per customer. So you're going to save some good money doing that. With the money you save, go get yourself a membership at USARK in USARK, Florida. They're the only lobbying body of folks working to keep unjust reptile legislation off the books. So they support us. The least we can do is support them back. And speaking of support, if you like what I got going on here, like the videos, want to come join the Discord, get access to babies early, discounts on merch, all sorts of good stuff like that, hit me up on Patreon. Riley Jimison on Patreon. Much love to all my patrons. My supporters are awesome. Thank you to everybody who watches all my videos, leaves comments, like, comment, subscribe, share. Appreciate you all. Catch you on the next one.